Hi everyone. Now, tonight I have a truly amazing woman, and I've only just read this on a book, so I'm just going to show you. This is one book. Now we've got The Heart of Hope, and this is another one, Banking Beyond Men. Now, I mean, what an amazing woman, I've got to tell you. So I guess what got me going today was I picked up this book and I started to read a little bit about Melissa. Because I thought, I try not to know too much, because then I feel that I don't ask the right questions. Because when you're full of knowledge, you don't think, well, I know that, so I'm going to just have idle chatter. But I'm thinking about the people out there in TV land. Now, I started reading this. I want you to listen to what I've got to say about this wonderful, wonderful woman. Now, she's coming on screen in a minute, but let me read this to you. Abandoned by her parents, married at the age of 16, and soon after diagnosed with a brain tumour, Melissa faced constant physical and verbal abuse from her husband. The following year, she became pregnant with the first of her 3 children. Her home became a prison, never being allowed to go out on her own or have her own money. She became frightful and judged by strangers, and with little education, knew little about the outside world. She worried constantly about the safety of her 3 young children and their emotional well-being, and struggled unsuccessfully to find a way out. But one day, during a vicious beating by her husband, her young son took action and called the police. It was the day Melissa's life took a new direction, although not an easy one. Now, doesn't that just tug at your damn heartstrings? Like, that she survived all that, and look how beautiful she is. And you know what? And here she comes. Like, come sit down here, beautiful girl. Everyone, this is Melissa. And this is the diva.
Bear of Hope.
The Bear of Hope. Like, wow, the message of hope, the Bear of Hope. And
until I'm nervous, right?
That's right, hug the bear, So, and I'm looking at Diva here, and it's got a little lipstick here for the eye, and I mean, how awesome is that? Like, there's so many things I want to ask you, because there's just so much stuff going on for you, and it's like you should be, 10 people, like all the stuff that you're doing and you've done, and you've been involved in construction and being in that like male-orientated area as well, after living with what you... Oh, wow, let's go back to when you're 16.
Isn't it funny how we always go to something that we shouldn't go? It's almost like an attraction, a magnet. I should have avoided men, and yet I'm in a male-dominated industry.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
It's insane, and then it becomes... You almost even question yourself, like, did this really happen to me?
So which book came first?
Oh.
Okay, this book came first?
Yes.
Right, so this book came first, and look at that beautiful photo. I love that beautiful photo. So, step up your game and become the strong woman you know you are.
Yes, I think that should actually be become the strong person you know you are, because we all are, and it doesn't really matter what
gender you are. That's right, yeah.
Well,
so you were married at 16?
Well, not officially, because, I was 15 and 9 months, and then I found myself being left with this family, and then not long after, got headaches every day, and eventually my lovely doctor said I had a brain tumour, and that was the day that I was happy, because I thought that I was out of my life. I was out of this world. I didn't have to come back anymore. I didn't have to open my eyes again. I didn't take it like you would normally take hearing that news.
Like devastation. To you it was more like an answer.
It was an out.
Yeah, yeah.
It was an out. And I remember going into a hospital, and that's where I met Professor Segalov and the wonderful Charlie Teo.
Oh, good on Charlie.
Yeah.
So you were the first
I was
patient.
I was one of Charlie's first patients to actually, he assisted that operation, and his mannerism, I have to say, honestly, Kelly, he gave me a weird, wacky sense of humour. You know, it was like I didn't have anything wrong with me, I just had a second brain and I was smarter than anyone else. So that sort of helped a lot. It's really hard sometimes talking about it, and it's really funny that, you know, you go and you write a book about your life.
Hang on, I have to stage left. That's our therapy dog. She's just... She's not doing much therapy right now. She's doing a lot of interruptions.
She's going to come up now.
It's something that I've wanted to do for a very long time because I've had... She agrees too. But... And I said, you know, you just don't work with animals and children. Like, I've said that from the very beginning. And for some reason, she's being really naughty right now.
No, you're not. Come on.
Stage left. No, it's just not a happening thing. There you go.
There you
All
go.
right. Okay, now we're right.
Yeah.
Now, oh dear. Okay, so Chili is our therapy dog because, you know, there are a lot of people that are, you know, dealing with a lot of stuff when they're doing their interviews, and they find that having a therapy dog, you know, helps them through it as well. So we thought it'd be a great idea to have Chili on board to be our therapy dog. But Chili kind of has this little mind of her own, and I think she wants to be centre of attention, and it doesn't help when you've got other people in the audience encouraging her behaviour. So not mentioning any names, Mr. Brian Wiseman.
I think Chili just knows that these are topics that people find difficult to talk about, and so if I go back to how everything began, half of it I don't even want to know about. It's because that is not who I am, that is not where I am now, and it's not where I'm ever going to be. So from a very young age, what I did, I used to write, because what generally happens, you are isolated from everything and everyone, and that is how a person gains control. And what we as girls, and you know, generally, it doesn't matter, because I've seen guys go through the same thing. When you're isolated and you have no contact with the outside world, and you have this one person constantly telling you that you're stupid, that you are ugly, that
Do you start believing that? Like,
you definitely start believing it. Like I didn't even finish year 9 because, you know, he was so controlling and didn't allow me to go back to school. So my saying is, I'm not educated, and thank God for that, because
you've got to see the real, haven't you, and experience the real in life without
exactly
the education.
without the textbook,
Yeah.
you know. And that was the thing that happened in hospital as well, because all of a sudden I didn't react and I didn't perform or do things or say things as per the textbook. I was in denial. Like, it was just ridiculous. I had the biopsy in 1985, and that was done in October. December 85, I turned 16.
16?
Yeah.
Wow.
And even though there were minor complications with the biopsy, I got a thing called intracranial hypertension, and I never even bothered to really comprehend what was going on, because all I knew is I had to go back to what I called my prison cell. So this man was very controlling, and I call him my keeper. I ended up having 3 children, and without going into too much of the detail, as I said, it's all there and it's all itemised in a way that people could understand where I came from, because I had found myself, as you do, you know, you get on with life and you're a mother and
you're busy.
Robot.
Yeah,
I was
busy.
I was a robot.
Yeah.
I was definitely a robot. And I numbed anything that was going on. So what ended up happening was I was giving this talk to a group of women, and this one woman, she said to me, "How would you know what it's like?" So I was talking to a group of women that came from a refuge, and that sort of hit me. And I can't explain to you how bad it was, because I thought, I was in your shoes. Is she begging us to stop? Or
If you could see what we're looking at right now, and
I'm sorry.
We've got to-
I'm really sorry.
we've got to put a bit of laughter in here.
You do, because it gets too serious. So what ended up happening was,
Maybe our assistant could
no, it's
take
fine.
chili somewhere. And Chili, come here, darling. Like, come to Mama. Oh, we've got our little assistant. We're having a problem. Okay, I'm never working with dogs or children again. That's it,
Don't
right?
say that. No, she's perfectly fine. She's perfectly fine. So as I was saying, this woman, she ended up saying to me, "What would I know?" And that was because all of a sudden, I myself removed myself from where I was, from my story. And this I found really, really important. Because I had removed myself from the story, I wasn't living in that story. You know when people say, "Oh,
From the outside looking in.
that's right." So then when I said to her, and I explained to her, and I never used to do this, never. I mean, I've got friends that have known me for such a long time, but they hadn't known me from where I began, from where I came from.
So did you not talk about this?
No.
So no one knew anything? Like,
No.
you would live the life as if...
No one
You
knew
are-
anything. And when you look at the journey, I think to myself, I sometimes sit back and I say, wow, I did all this. But what I did is I did what we all do. I was like, when something comes up and you know that whatever's coming up is going to now either make you crumble and cry, or it's going to make you really, really pissed off and angry and determined. But I knew that whatever was coming up for me was going to break me into little pieces. And I had 3 kids. So this shield of armour comes up, and all this stuff that comes up, you keep pushing down and pushing down and pushing down. And what I realised is that I pushed it down so far that I didn't allow myself to really heal as a woman. I did everything. I provided, I was a mother, I've helped so much in the community, I got involved in charity. I met people, I met celebrities that I didn't even know who they were, because I didn't watch TV, I wasn't allowed to go buy magazines, I didn't have friends. I have one friend that I met, and I have to say hi Kim, who I call Abbo. Please don't attack me for that, because I'm a WOG, and together we're WOG origines, as we say. But I met Kim in hospital, so with my 3rd child, and my baby, let's just say that the way she was brought into this world, it would have been better if it was a stranger. But this little angel, or actually my soul, so I named all my children. My son was my eyes, because when he was born I really got to see what the hell was going on, and I could never understand how my father allowed this to occur and to leave me. My daughter, my middle child, she was born on my birthday, and I named her my heart, because having a girl on my birthday, and it was like I was never going to let her go through what I'm going through.
And on your birthday too, like.
Yeah, that's a little miracle in
Ironic,
itself.
yeah.
I think we're about 10 minutes apart. And then the baby, so 23 and 3 kids. And she was my soul, because all of a sudden, whilst I was pregnant with her, because of the way and everything that happened, I didn't speak to him. I finally had a mouth and I answered back. And because of all the complications, so I have a shunt and I have all these other weird contraptions in my body and walking jigsaw puzzle, if you like. So I was left in hospital, complications, so I was there for about 2 months, 6 weeks, something like that. And I met Kim in hospital. So Kim handled, hello. And we just clicked. You know, she is...
It's great when that happens, isn't it?
Oh, she is. She was my saviour. And the beauty about her was, even afterwards, she didn't give a shit. She was coming over, we were friends, and she didn't take no for an answer.
So that's like when you were with the husband then, and she
Yeah.
just...
The keeper.
Wow,
The
and
keeper.
that's the keeper, yeah, the keeper, yeah.
So
that was a really big thing, wasn't it? To, like,
oh,
how did you, like, I'm just thinking, because I've been in a similar situation, but weren't you like really scared because
yes.
she's coming over and you're scared of the ramifications because of her visit, so one thing would lead to another, and it's like you get to the stage where you go, I don't even want her to come, because if she comes, this is going to happen.
You're sort of worried about what's going to come out of their mouths, what they're going to say, because you know that when they're gone, they're going to react, and you know what's coming.
You pay the price, yeah.
So, but and this was the thing about Abbo. Oops, said it again. This was the thing about Kim. She just didn't care. But I got to that point too that, you know, I didn't care. This was not normal. What was going on was not normal.
How long did it take you to kind of get that feeling? Like before, because if they've got so much control over you and you're not allowed to watch TV, you're not allowed to go out, they're controlling your money, like you've got no real function of how the world's going on out there, have you? You kind of like kept in, and you just, how did you know that what was happening was not happening to everybody else, so to speak?
That happened when I first went to hospital. So in the beginning, hospital was like a holiday for me. And even with my son, so that's why I'm saying we could be here forever. I'm sort of jumping all over the place. That's why it's easier in the book. And the book came about by a lot of journals. So the one thing I did every single day was write. So I would regurgitate everything that happened to me. Everything.
Would you say that is a good thing for someone else to be doing? Like if there's someone else...
That's something that we all need to do. We all
I
do
feel
need
that
to.
too.
And you know, like even now, I sit back sometimes, and especially now, I'm 50 this year, and it's like I sit back and I think to myself, I was meditating, I was doing all these weirdo things that have all these names now. You know, I was writing in journals. I never did affirmations, and I didn't do, this was going to be my future, and, you know, manifesting. And because my manifestation about the future was not right. The only thing I thought was, somehow these children are not going to live like this. And there again, and you would know this, you end up carrying this guilt that becomes part of your own DNA, and it's hard to get rid of. But I tried many times to run away, as I'd call it. I ended up in Melbourne when my son was not even 1. And he was a little chubby checker and so bloody heavy, and didn't walk until he was 1 year old. I put him and myself on a train back to Melbourne. So I've tried many times to run. And this is what really upsets me when people say, well, why didn't you leave? One, yes, nowadays you've got so much more support. Yes, you do. But until you are ready, until you are strong enough, no amount of support is going to give you that security to actually leave, to actually go. And this is what I find so heartbreaking when people would say, especially this one young counsellor who I had the fortune of meeting in a, so it was like a little forum of frontline workers recently, and I recognised her and she recognised me. The thing is, at that year, at that time, she was possibly the same age as me and just out of university. I had 3 kids. And when I went to her for help, it was like she, and I know she didn't mean it, I really do know she didn't mean it, but the words that came out of her mouth to me sounded like, well, if it's so bad, why have you got 3 kids? And this is the thing that we all suffer. You know, you worry about what other people are going to say, what other people are going to think. I was on a pension, and like you go the following day because of that stigma, you know, single parent, oh, and she's a young mother, and I'm a better mother than half the mothers I know because I was a mother, father, brother, sister, counsellor, everything. And
that's the thing, you know, and sometimes I think because of all that coming down on us, like that's giving us the strength because we know that we have those children to provide for. And I think to myself, like many times I would think, you know what, if I didn't have the children, I would not have fought as hard to be where I am today. And thankfully I did have those children.
My son did for me what I should have done for them. So as I said many times, I did try. And this particular time, the constable came, pulled me aside, and back then, many times, you know, the police would come and God love neighbours and things like that, but at that stage, he used to tell them to get fucked. You know, and they'd have to leave. Sorry, PG and all that stuff, sorry.
No, this is real.
But yeah, and they would have to. They'd have to go.
Well, not like today. I mean, it's so different.
It's so different, but it's different but the same.
Yeah.
Because regardless of anything, yes, now it's even better. Now they will video it and everything else, and you don't need to be their witness. So even when the laws changed, I think it was in 96 or 95, that the police could lay charges, you still had to be a witness. Now, how am I going to testify or give evidence against him when I know what he's capable of?
You're petrified inside.
And that was the biggest delusion, because what happened was that I was creating my own story. We all have a choice. But what we need to realise is that person, instead of all this rubbish that we believe, I love you, I this, I that, I didn't mean to, I'm drunk, I'm under pressure, all these stupid excuses.
I love you. Yeah.
They're like assholes, everyone's got one, or armpits, everyone's got a couple. And at the end of the day, we need to just realise abuse is abuse. And you have a choice whether you want to hit someone or whether you want to do whatever to anyone. My son rang the police on his own father. Now what that kid would have to carry...
And he was 11 at the time, wasn't he?
He was 11.
11, wow.
And he did what I should have been. I should have been his guardian. I should have been his protector, or their protector. So then what happens? You end up carrying...
The guilt.
Yeah. And I think I made up for it over and over and over again, and then always felt like I'm this bad mother. I could never give them back their childhood. So I took on the responsibility. He got away scot-free. I mean, I didn't even go to court. I was that terrified of him. I created my own story that this man was stronger than me, that was going to... There was nothing he could do. And I've always said, there is nothing anyone could do to me that hasn't been done, and I've survived it. I've lived it. So what the hell are we scared of? Why do we constantly do this to ourselves? And even with all of the BS that goes on, we've got so much support now, but unless a woman is prepared and is strong within herself, it doesn't matter how many services are out there. It's not going to break anything, break the cycle. It's not going to change anything. You need to have it in you to want a better life. I said one thing, Kelly. If I could do it, with no education, no family, no support, I mean, my kids are my family. I don't have anyone. Anyone can do it. They really can. We keep making everything impossible when it's not. It's when you believe in yourself. Rather than worrying about and looking at what's out there, we look at the system and what about this, what about housing? We don't need to be a statistic, we don't need to be another number, and we definitely do not need to be part of a system that is too concerned about appearing to do the right thing and not doing anything. I mean, you've done it. You did it on your own. And then you go on and you keep giving and you keep giving and you keep giving. I think a lot of women, we forget to, and men, because a lot of the little boys that have seen their mothers go through hell and be treated like they are nothing but that doormat. It's when you decide that you don't want your children to see that a doormat is there only for shoes, not for a human being.
So true.
And that's why I'm saying when my son did that, my guilt was, what was he going to carry? What was going on with him? Boys don't speak, boys don't talk. And even children, girls, unfortunately, we all clam up. We're all so afraid of being judged or not being seen as
good enough. Or, yeah. That's it. We're just striving towards this. That has to come from within, I feel. And at the time when you're going through all that stuff, that's just impossible. Because the last thing you're feeling is how empowered you are or how wonderful you are or self-love. Usually they're all the things that are just missing, at the time when you're going through all that. And it is about, finding a way of getting that self-love and confidence and self-worth. That's the journey after the whole thing, isn't it? Well, that's what I found in my journey in life, that you go through that dilemma and then it's about building, and you've got to keep building on building on building on building. And along the way, you normally find others that are going through a similar situation, and it becomes a thing. Well, let's as a group, and
isn't it true?
Yeah, and it's just like just gathering, and before you know it, everyone's self-empowered and everyone's feeling beautiful, and because it works, and that's it's just about the nurturing side of humans.
The hardest thing, I think, for a lot of us is that we put too much emphasis on trying to fit in, trying to belong, or trying to be seen as something. When I started actually speaking, and this is on a different level altogether, because we haven't even touched on any of
This is like this
banking beyond men.
Like this is the other chat. This should be you and I. This should be a series. Between that and that,
do you know how many more women would come out and talking real, not speaking about things that really don't matter. Because even with children, it's funny, I said to this woman, kids are overrated. I'm sorry, but they are. Because what we do is you focus, and you've done it too, you focus on raising them and giving them a better life than you and everything else. Well, you know what, those children are going to grow up and they get so consumed with society and everything else. How many times I've always said, look at who is talking and not at what they're saying. And that to me is huge, because you can have that degree, you can do whatever you like just by having an alphabet behind your name. But that doesn't go to say that you are going to, one, represent me better, treat me any better, provide me with any better sort of solutions just because you have a piece of paper to say that you are smarter than me. Because I can tell you now that there are so many people that are so stupid, but they're qualified. There are so many people that are committing crimes like fraud and corruption and all sorts of insider trading, and they are qualified, they're professionals. And just because they're professionals, anything I say or you say is just hogwash.
And there would have been a lot of that going on with the Royal Commission recently with the banking, and I know we're kind of leading into that situation. So, look, there'd be so many women out there and men, and there's a couple of people that I'll actually be interviewing in a few weeks' time, men that have been through DV themselves, which is just, because a lot of the time we have, in fact, focused on females, and now there's a lot of men that are ready to talk, and because society has allowed them, well, not allowed them, but they've got platform to do so, because people are starting to listen and believe that it can happen to men too, because once upon a time you're like, oh, don't be a pussy, but you're a guy, like
a lot of these men, a lot of the men though, they were the child.
Yes,
they were the helpless child watching this happen and not being able to defend. And I've always said, you either become, and it's not. So with all the haters out there, that's fine. Everyone's got an opinion, and that's great too. But if you're not the perpetrator, you'll be the victim. You're either going to be submissive or you're going to be more in control and the dominant. The problem is that we are all equal. We all have a right to live. So if we were to take gender completely out of the equation, which we need to do, because we are all human.
That's it.
Coming from construction, I learnt one thing, that me being on site meant that my balls were exposed because they're on my chest, and theirs were all protected. And that's
a good way of putting it.
But it's true. I was more vulnerable because I was exposed. It doesn't matter how much I knew, what I said, I had to prove myself 10 times over.
So how did you get into construction?
That was just through the keeper, and that was just what we did. So I had a steel fixing business and all of that. But I didn't drive because I wasn't allowed to have a license or drive until I rebelled when my baby girl was born. Ran the business, did all of that at home, but I was always the dumb one. And back then you had to have 2 directors. So I had to be a director of this company, but I only had 1%. That means I couldn't even sign anything. I had no voice. But I was on there. And so in construction, I basically did everything over the phone. It was hilarious because I would say that, the reason no one saw me, I was at 110 kilograms, I really couldn't get out much, and that was my excuse. Charlie Tio's humour. And then when we left, so we still, I had this company, but I had a car accident. This was the funny part. This is where Abo comes in. I had the car accident because I was dropping the kids off and then going to site. I fell asleep behind the wheel. So I don't know what he was thinking keeping me here, but obviously for a reason. Had the car accident and then thought that's it, fell into a massive depression. What I didn't know was I was so deeply depressed anyway. This was just worse. And I remember calling Kim, or actually she called me. This is the thing about Aboriginals. They have this really sixth sense. You know, she just had this.
They do.
It was like they're really so spiritual.
It's that Earth Mother thing.
Oh my God, yes, 100%.
Yeah.
And she called me this time and I was in tears. She came over and I remember asking her, if anything happens to me, will you look after my kids? Oh my God, she started getting in the kitchen. She was cooking a stir fry. No, you're fine. And she's just beautiful. And you will meet her. You will meet her. I will definitely do that. But, so where I was getting to is when we left, and I've got this company now, when that happened, I stopped everything. I didn't look for work. I didn't make any phone calls. I did nothing. Everything just stopped. My whole life stopped. When that incident happened and the police came that day, we left and I never went back. What I didn't know was that me being a director, I had certain responsibilities. Me signing anything, I had certain obligations. I had left and I really didn't look back. I didn't know anything. I didn't look back at all. But what had happened was that the business failed. He had a very colourful accountant. No offence to any accountants out there. But there's good, bad and indifferent in everyone. And by removing him and leaving me as a director, I was liable for everything. I didn't know any of this at the time, and then I went to, had a unit, I went to try and get this loan, and then what happened was I went to get this loan and all of a sudden there's this liquidator. I was sought after by a liquidator, this Bird Cameron at the time, also mentioned in the book, and also I had to get permission so they know all about it. So I have to now produce documents, do all this stuff. I had no effing idea. I then read up everything I needed to, learnt what I needed to, because I just made the phone call and I was just honest. I did not know. They accused me of so much crap. They accused me of hiding documents, of trading insolvent, all of this stuff. Mind you, I didn't even live in the house.
So you probably didn't even realise that what they're accusing you of, you didn't even know what it was.
No.
That's what I mean. So they're saying all this thing and saying stuff, and then they're going, you're going, well, what is that?
I just knew I had to go to court.
Yeah.
I had to go to court.
So you're learning all this on the way.
Everything was learnt on the way.
Wow.
So I end up trying to explain to them everything. You know, I left and all of this. Then I had to go to the police, get the incident reports, get the dates, do all this. I went to court. I represented myself in Sutherland.
Wow.
And they finally saw what happened. Mind you, I had named the accountant. I gave them all the information, and nothing ever happened to them. Nothing. And nothing happened to the keeper either. From there, it just sort of, everything just fell into place. 2008, when the GFC hit, the bank I banked with forever and had no issues with, came after me, going after everything I had. And at that time, I had an investment property. So this is why I say, if I can do it, anyone can. Yes. So I had an investment property. I was good. But when the bank came after me, I had no idea. So I get a demand and a default at once. And you know yourself, you get this letter and you get a default and you're thinking, what do I do? Panic. You don't even really read what the words are saying. You're already in this panic mode.
Let alone know how to act on it.
No. So I'm called up to go to this meeting, and in the meantime what I've done is I've gone and I've asked for because I didn't even have all my documents. Like I didn't have all the guarantors, copies of things. I had only basics.
Sign on the dotted line, and all the documents are with them, and you need to ask
Exactly.
any questions, give them a call, they'll be friendly, give you all the info.
They're professionals.
That's right, yeah. That's why we pay those fees.
I think that's got to do with something else too, but still, that's another topic. So then, I end up going to this meeting, but what I had learnt is about the Ombudsman. I learnt what I needed to, where I could go, what I needed to do. Solicitors were going to charge a fortune, and one actually said to me, who was a friend, who said to me, you sign the document, it's a stopple, you can't get out of it, you might as well try and sell the home or sell the investment property. And I'm thinking, how? It was locked in for actually 10 years. No way did it expire. So, having understood that the call that they made, they were going to work out something for me. That was a load of BS, total BS. Because all they did was basically say to me that I didn't have an option and I should have come with an accountant or someone. And because it was me, some of the things that they did say to me are so wrong.
You know that now, but at the time...
Oh, at the time at the time I was just pissed off. I was just really pissed off. Because me being a single mother had nothing to do with anything. And one of them made a really ugly comment. So I walk away from this meeting, I press the button to send the complaint through to FOS. FOS actually, because you have made a complaint, it actually stops any action.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it stops any action. And then you go into like a mediation, but then you have another problem where the Ombudsman has a limit. So because my assets were a considerable amount at the time, they only have a limit for compensation. So it all began to sound like a very confusing system that wasn't going to get me anywhere. Then what I did is I just spent virtually every night understanding and reading every policy and code and procedure, so that every time this one particular woman would get on the phone from asset management, I had an answer for her.
Knowledge is power, right?
Knowledge is definitely power. What ended up happening was I did not sign a deed of forbearance. So what they generally do is they'll tell you that they'll work things out with you. They'll get you to sign a deed of forbearance, giving you an ability to sell your home or sell your asset before they do. What no one tells you is that is your own choice. It is not compulsory. Their threats are idle. They have a procedure.
So they neglected to tell you it's not compulsory.
No, they don't tell you that.
So how many people out there have actually been bullied around like that?
A lot.
Well, we know, and hence the Royal Commission. But, how many people like that have been bullied into certain situations that still are not understanding what they're signing, what they're doing, because they're thinking and putting all their faith in the banks because they're the professionals, correct?
So many. And what's really heart-wrenching is that, okay, so with me, I was fine. I ended up resolving it myself and I kept all my assets. So I figured, okay, if I can do it, everyone can. Again, that's always been my thing. If I can, anyone can.
Time to help others.
I fell into this, and it was just word of mouth, where people would call me and I would be able to give them advice and help them out. What I found is a lot of women who were, and no offence because men do it too, they're signing things using their DNA, and I say their love, emotional DNA, trying to support a partner or help, or that guilt, that guilt where, oh, if you love me, just sign it.
Yeah, just do it.
It's going to be fine,
Yeah, we'll get married next year.
Yeah, all the best.
Yeah.
What banks don't do and what they don't understand is that half of these documents, they have to be executed in a way that shows that both parties understand their obligations. Well, they've been getting away with so much bullying when it comes to partners that have been financially controlled. You know, when you're signing something, when you're coerced to sign something, just by, you know, your heartstrings, your emotional guilt factor. And because I'm from construction, I fell into the, you know, developers and so on, the ugly side of things. And I always say construction and money, it's always been a taboo. A number of the people that I have assisted, and it's been various banks, they've all been bankrupted. And after so many years got amazing results. But then human nature, they also become greedy. So even when the bank does do the right thing, they still want more. What this Royal Commission has done is opened up Pandora's box. And even though I've followed it and tried to avoid spending more time on it because the truth wasn't out there. There is so much that has not been exposed that needs to be exposed. But then on the other hand, you actually start to wonder if it is exposed, what is going to happen to our economy?
It's pretty scary,
what is going
isn't
to
it?
happen to us?
So you worked with a few people that were involved in the Royal Commission?
And not just the Royal Commission, and a lot of the people that I've assisted, I've made sure that they stayed out of the Royal Commission and any type of witch hunt, because it isn't just the bank. It goes both ways. You've got, and it takes a team. Usually takes. You need an accountant, you need a broker, you need a banker, you need someone in the credit department, and then you need a receiver. And when you've got all of those people lined up, that bad apple, that bad seed that wants to violate and exploit their position, they get away with it. Our laws, all these 76 recommendations that have been passed down, I don't see how they differ from what is already there. The law is the law. Fraud is fraud. Theft is theft. It's all a bunch of shit, because honestly, good, bad and indifferent in all of us, whether it's a banker, whether it's a lawyer, an accountant, a broker, a doctor, whoever it is hard to monitor humans. So by us just constantly saying it is this industry, it's not. It's in every industry. But it's about getting responsible and knowing what your rights are. And
That's right, and doing the research and knowing what you're signing and understanding it. And don't feel foolish by asking questions, because you know, it's so important when you get in that position, especially when you're doing something on your own. Like, you know, maybe you've come from a situation with DV and you finally now got to the stage where you're buying your first home on your own.
How exciting.
Like, how exciting, yeah, because I do remember all that. Like, and I just know how empowered I felt my first home. You know, that it is about reading the documents. And don't be afraid, like I said, don't be afraid to ask questions, because, you know, knowledge is power. And if you don't know what you're talking about and you don't understand it, you could be signing something that could get you into a lot of financial difficulty. So, you know, don't be afraid to ask the questions. Don't be afraid to do the research. We should all be doing the research. If you've got to sign something, understand the document you are signing. If you can't understand it, take it to someone that can explain it to you, so that you know what you're in for, you know what you're doing, you totally understand it. And good luck. Like, you know, if you've got to that stage, like, good on you, because I know how fantastic that can be for any person that's gone through a really bad time in life and then suddenly everything starts flipping over. You know, it's just a wonderful feeling. Like,
once you change that story and that belief that we all have, and that's the problem. I think we grow up and we adapt and we inherit someone else's belief, someone else's opinion. You know, wrong and right, and you know, what's right for you may not be right for me. You know, what you believe, I don't believe. Does that make me any worse? Does that make me wrong. You know, there's too much emphasis on trying to be seen as doing the right thing or doing something that...
Well, what is the right thing? And who
determines right
who
and
determines
wrong.
that? Like, who is the person that determines whether it's right or wrong? Like,
Yeah, I think that's the problem with us. That is a problem.
yeah, that's right. Just get on with it and do it your way and do it the best way you can, and don't harm anyone on the way, and you know that things will be great. You know?
Stop competing and start respecting everyone's right to live and your own. That's as simple as it is.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me. Like, it seems pretty basic stuff. Like, so
there's a lot to learn, there's a lot to understand, and it isn't just about what we're being told and what we're being taught. That's the ugliness about the whole thing.
where can people get this book and this one?
They're both on Amazon, and I do have to say that I have not even pushed the book.
Oh dear. But you know, I'm just reading this here. Banking Beyond Men. A new form of abuse where the perpetrators are protected by banking systems. Like, wow, that's such a powerful thing just to be saying. Like, we explain the unknown about the banking culture as we prepare you for the undisclosed events that may occur in any economic climate. So, you know, like, everyone should be reading this.
So what was done is, through every code, so the banks have, and this is why I find this ironic. I travel overseas a lot, so every year I go and I look after my grandmother in Croatia. So I was born in Serbia, grew up in Croatia, came here when I was 4.
And call yourself Yugoslav. Is that what you were saying before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when someone says to me, where are you from? I say Yugoslavia because that's what it was when I was born. Like, for me to say Serbia or Croatia, I think to myself, and being on a building site was hilarious when one person actually said to me, so what are you? And he was so insistent, you know, like I had to tell him what I was. Was I Serbian? Was I Croatian? I just went, I'm a woman. And he didn't know what to say. But that's what I meant. It was just ridiculous. I looked at what happened overseas, and it's not much different to here at all. But we are told and we are taught certain things about the banks, and this culture has been going on for decades. I think it started with the Romans, who I think they put more brass in the gold. So
Something like that.
yeah, it started like that. So it was always being manipulated somewhere.
Which is really what they're doing here anyway.
That's it. You know,
Today, putting more brass in the
false
gold.
economy and all the BS. But we also have the most regulated banks ever. Our financial system is so regulated compared to other places that it's ironic that we're in this position. The problem that we have is, I believe, that we all need to take responsibility of our actions, whether it's the bank that's being protected, or whether it's the human that's being protected by the accountant. In my case, was the accountant, and then ASIC's protected the whole lot. And I think, wow, the regulations here should be enough to deter any wrongdoing by a person in a position of power. What we fail to understand is that we have a bail in and a bail out in our constitution. So that means is that, just like in Greece, if one of our banks fall or something happens, the same thing will happen. They will take whatever is in the accounts. Now, I'm happy for anyone to throw stones, judge, question, do whatever they like, because I have the black and white to show everything that has occurred in the last 4 years. And I can say that none of it has come out in the Royal Commission.
So there's even more. Like, of course there'd be even more. And, oh, look, I'm just thinking, like, now, I mean, we could just keep going on and talking about...
We could, and I think we're way over time.
And there's just so much to talk about What an Amazing Woman, and, like, I know. So I'm going to have you back because there's something that we need to talk about, and that's the anchor
communities.
Communities, and it's something in the making right now, and it's something that's just going to blow your mind, and I'm going to share it with you. I'm not going to share it tonight because it's going through a process, but it's really exciting stuff, and it's a new way of housing. So, and it's a new way of empowering people to own their own home in a way that you can't even imagine. Like, it's great stuff.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win. It's an absolute win-win. And for those of you that thought you would never, ever have the opportunity to own your own home, we have got the news for you. And I'm going to bring it to you in time. I'm working on it in the background, and there's just stuff going on. So be excited, because you will get the story. So with all that's happening, I know I haven't touched on even like a thimbleful of your world, but wow, I just know you're going to come back anyway, and we'll do a bit of a chit chat. But I ask everyone at the end of the show to give a message of hope. Now, there's someone sitting at home
Hug a teddy bear.
Hug a teddy bear. This is a hope bear. You know, like, how cool is that?
Hug a teddy
bear. Yeah, because it's therapy too, isn't it? Like, hugging something is so important when you're feeling down and out, and it's important. If you can't tell someone something that's going on in your world, find someone to hug, because it's amazing what a hug does for you deep down inside. It's something that you can't take in a pill, you can't take in a drink. It's that touch, it's that warmth. It's go and give someone a really big hug, and you'll feel a difference. So there's people out there tonight, and they're watching, and in their life, something's happening in their world, and maybe they haven't quite dealt with it just yet, and they've watched you tonight, and they're thinking, I do want to do something to change my life, or I know I'm capable, and what message of hope would you give that person?
The first thing I would say is believe in yourself. Believe that nothing is impossible, and believe that you have choices. Don't isolate yourself. Every time someone said I couldn't do it, I believed it. And even though I was doing it, I actually mastered it. But it's just that doubt. Don't doubt yourself. When someone is trying to isolate you, there's a reason for it. You have a choice, and if I could do it, anyone can do it.
That's so true, isn't it? You can do it. And, you will find the right time that's right for you.
Yeah.
And when that time comes, grab with both hands and don't let up. Just keep going until you get to where you need to go to, because it can all happen. Like, I've done it. I've got to, the lowest ebb in my whole entire life that I never thought I'd be able to get out of. And you know what? I just kept clawing my way up until I actually got my head above water. And you just get to that stage where you're surrounded by beautiful people, and you have an inner love for these people. And imagine if you weren't in their life. Like, they need love from you just as much as you need love from them. So, in life, turn around, hug someone today, and know that you can do it, and have hope and strength, and gain strength from others, and hearing beautiful stories like this, and know that you can, and don't give up no matter what. And I'm thanking some of those beautiful people out there tonight that are just hanging in there each and every week watching my show. And thank you for allowing me to live my dream, because this is my dream. I've dreamt of this ever since I was a little kid, and I don't even know how it all started, but it's here, and I'm in it, and I'm already there. So, and it's just getting better and better. I'm propelling, like there's no stopping me now. So thank you to the people like Shireen Lowe and Debbie O'Donoghue and Amber Jane Sterling and Chris Rourke and Denise Martin and Karina Dendel and Sophia and Gary Little, thank you. Charlene Murphy, thank you for tuning in. Evelyn McGecky, Jacqueline Carvey. Oh, Jackie Carvey, thank you so much, little sweetheart. And Tracy Waddell, thank you, darling. Kathy Hobbins, Adrian Pontifex, Lisa McCarthy, Kat Townsend, Louise Melrose Hanley. Thank you guys, because without you, there wouldn't be a show. I mean, I'd have the guests and I'd have me, and, maybe we could fool someone into thinking we've got a show, but hey, it's actually happening. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for supporting me each and every week. So from me and from Melissa and from all my other people that I've had on the show, the lovely guests I keep bringing to you, we say thank you. And no matter what in life, no matter what, don't give up. Thumbs up. Don't give up. Know you're going to be okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.